This is how your belief change your actions. So when I was 12 years old, I was exposed to pornography. I remember one of my friends, well, I would say friends at that time, in school told me about a website that supposedly contained porn. And the moment I actually watched the website, the videos, I was hooked. And my brain was totally messed up by the overstimulating content in there. And what became is that I was addicted to the idea of chasing pleasures. I was addicted to the belief of chasing pleasures, and thus did the actions that literally made me had pleasure in the moment, which was chasing instant gratification. But then when I started self improvement, I read a book about habits, and as we all know, it's about atomic habits. And in the book, it says if you want to quit smoking, you actually don't think about quitting to smoke, but you actually think about not smoking, beholding that identity that you don't smoke. And that is how your belief change your action. That's how you actually quit smoking. And that actually gave me an insight on the change that I possess. And in this video, we're going to discuss how we can apply that and the scientific basis behind the change and behind the belief that can change you. So you have heard of the quote, "You are what you believe." And it is true, it is true that we portray what we believe, we portray what we think, and we portray that as our behaviors and our actions. And in every success that you do, or every action that you do, in some sense, it has belief ingrained to it. Every action is nothing that we do out of the blue. It has a prerequisition of belief. It has a prerequisition of believing something in order for us to actually do that. And it's both biological and a mystical connection that fuels our engine to towards our goal. You know, it's not just about spiritual woo woo stuff, but it's actually something that our brain functions. It's something that we human are starting to grasp, and those who have mastered it has already been applying, and they are ahead of us. And every successful person, every athlete, every Nobel Prize winner had that one thing in common, and that's their prerequisite belief, that their belief that they are going to make an impact on the community, that they are going to help these people. That's the belief that they have in order for them to do these wondrous things that they did. But it would be wrong for me to say that it's just a mysterious phenomenon, because it's not actually, but it's a complex biological weapon in some sort that God has given to us so that we can give a head start in our life. Even in the Bible, it says, if you have faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Christ said it himself. If you believe in something, you can definitely achieve it regardless of what the circumstances are. Because if you truly believe, you're going to find a way. You're going to find a way to overcome that, you know. And as we are made in the image of God, we are to follow follow a true and deep passion that actually promotes growth, not any stupid or weird thought that we might have from consuming content online in these day and age. No, we have to find our true belief, and we have to find positive belief that not only helps us grow but help other grow as well. I'm a big football fan. I love watching football. And I was watching this match. It's a very old match, but it's a football match back in 2005. It was, I believe, with Liverpool and AC Milan, which is, I think, which was held in 2005. It was a UEFA Champions League, right? And those who watch football knew how beautiful this game is. They know because it was really really cool. At first, in the first half, Liverpool was losing 3-0. Like Liverpool was getting cooked. They were getting smoked, and even the commentators they said like Liverpool was outpassed and outclassed by the AC Milan team because at that time Liverpool was just an underdog. They didn't know anything. They didn't have a consistent like result like the big teams like AC Milan. And they don't even have good players. So it's no surprise that they're losing 3-0 in the first half. But something changed in the locker room. In the halftime break, something changed. The manager of Liverpool at that time, Rafael Benitez, he was in the locker room and he said, if we just score one goal, we are going to get back to it. And that opened the door. That opened the door for the team's success. That opened the door for them to believe, that give them a sense of belief that they can hold on to. And as they were getting ready for the second half, getting into their position, they hear their fans chanting this famous chant in Liverpool that I really like, "You will never walk alone." And then the captain of the team, Steven Gerrard, he said, "Do you hear this? The fans are expecting something from us. We must give it." That adds a positive reinforcement to the scenario, to the belief that they can come back. And they actually did come back because 9 minutes later, in 94 minutes, Steven Gerrard scored a header, making it 3-1, right? A few minutes later, Schmitzer, he counterbacked and he scored another goal, 3-2. In the 60th minute, Xabi Alonso, he scored a beautiful goal. It was a clutch, but it made it 3-3. Now the whole script is flipped. They were actually in control now. And the main reason why is because of the prerequisite belief that they can win. That belief that only one goals matter and we can work from it. That is the belief that put them into the position that can actually win. Because 3-3 is a possibility. It's a draw now. Both teams had the same chances again. It's not a one-sided game anymore. It's both sides. And in the locker room, if the manager just said, "Guys, let's just give up. Don't do it. Don't do it anymore. We're already cooked. We're already 3-0 down. Let's not play anymore." If he just said that, they will not win. Instead, he gives the team a belief that they can still win. There is still hope. And then guess what? They actually hold on to the belief. And with the reinforcement of the fans, they actually did. Because if the fans just left, they wouldn't have the support, the mental support that they will have. So it's really important for us to see that both our belief and the reinforcement around us matters a lot in the physical reality. What we have here matters what we see in front of us. It gives a change that we can actually create. And there's science behind it. This has been a topic that has been talked for a while now, and it's called the placebo. What's a placebo? Placebo is that when the it's the person's belief or how the person interpret thoughts directly govern their behavior and their biological responses. It's basically seeing that you will do what you believe. That's the placebo. And placebo has been used in so many different fields, from sports to science to nutrition. It has been there. People cannot explain how, but it's prominent that it's there. And what aids our placebo, what aids our thought, is that the more we expose ourselves with consistent evidence that sharpens our belief, and to be more encoded neurologically in within our brain and psychologically, is going to help us walk faster towards our success. In other words, if you just believe, if you just have a belief that you can do something, but you don't see anyone else doing the same thing, if you don't see any success story, you don't see any positive reinforcement, you're not going to succeed as much. You will not have the chance to succeed that much. But rather, if you have more evidence, if you have more positive reinforcement, you have more chance to actually succeed and win in life, that to actually work towards success, you know. And when we consciously allow newer perceptions to enter our brain, and by seeking new experiences, as we human, we seek new experiences. If we consciously allow the good perceptions that we want to believe to enter into our brain to seek new experiences, learning new skills and whatnot, our body can respond in newer and better ways. Basically put, the more you put in, the more you're going to put out. The more you believe that you can bench 225 pounds, the faster it's going to be for you to bench 225 pounds, right? And the plus is, if you see other people doing that, you're going to be like, oh crap, he can do it. I can do it too, right? So that's is the positive reinforcement that you have to have. That's why a lot of people emphasize the point that you gotta live with the people that actually is doing good things as well, because you are the average of the five that you surround yourself with. Yeah. But there is a hidden enemy to the placebo effect, the alter ego, that I shall say. Because just like placebo, there's also a nocebo, which is pretty much like a evil twin brother of placebo, but everything negative. So every negative thought that we perceive, it is it is done by the nocebo. And it's even more dangerous than placebo because it activates the prefrontal and cingulate regions of our brain, which is responsible for signaling situations. It signals pain, which means that we're going to expect more pain. So when you think that, oh, you're getting hurt, you are going to expect more pain. Thus, you're going to put yourself in a position not to even grow back out again. That's why if we don't carefully analyze our thoughts, if we're not calm in hard situations, if we don't observe our surroundings, it can overtake us. So the way we think is vital towards our human life experience. It's super vital. And there has been studies that was done on patients with illness when they were giving about the negative results that get from the medicines. They are, even though they haven't taken the medicine yet, the thought of negativity actually increased the chance of actually having the impact. Not in a physical level, but in a psychological level, where they experience anxiety, they experience nausea, they experience depression, just by knowing the fact that there is a risk. So that's why what we observe into our mind is also super important, you know. And the author, uh, there the author of a book, yeah, I forgot what it is, but like I was putting it up in the screen, right? So he states that the patient expectations and belief whether a drug will work or will not work will have an impact on the actual effectiveness of the drug itself. So it was a quote by a psychiatric, if I'm not wrong, but basically saying that if the patients believe that the drug will work, it will have higher chance of working. If the patient doesn't believe that it will work, it lowers the chance of actually working. And if we go back in time to, let's say, uh, to the Greek philosopher Aristotle, he says, "Neither by nature, then, nor contrary to nature, do the virtue arise in us. Rather, we are adapted by nature to receive them and are made perfect by habit." Right? So basically, what he is saying is that what we perceive from nature, what we perceive from the external, has impact on the way we act. And the actions that we do from the that stems from the perception of the external world is perfected by habit. So without habit, even though the actions might be good, it might not stick, it might not produce fruit. So habit is super important as well. Let's discover some research that talks about the effects of placebo. So this one is, I believe, done on a woman who was suffering from a severe nausea and vomiting, right? And in this case, the woman had the illness, a gastric contraction, but then she was giving a new magical and extremely potent drug that was offered to her, and within a few minutes, her nausea vanished. And the fact of the matter is that she was giving a syrup that is actually used to induce nausea. So just by saying that the drug is very helpful to heal the process, and she believes that that actually helped her to go make her feel go away of the nausea, right? And in the same way, you know, there is nocebo. So this study is done with, I believe, the COVID uh, COVID vaccine, where those who believed that COVID vaccine has negative effect actually has experienced more negative effect, like headache, fatigue, and the fatigue is the most common one. And they were done separately for the first time and the second time. And guess what? In both studies that they conducted, they experienced the contestant they experienced more impact, the more adverse effect on them just because of their belief that it's going to harm them. So it's really important for us to know that how we perceive our thoughts, how we perceive our beliefs actually produces our reality, right? So let's talk about the action plan. What is the action plan? And I would like to call it fake it till you make it. A lot of people uh, disregard this fact because, oh, it sounds like, oh, you're faking yourself, you're not authentic. But in some sense, you have to fake it. You have to put that belief inside you. You know, and I've been mentioning a lot about this in my videos, especially with habits. Is that you gotta brainwash your way through it. You gotta brainwash yourself, constantly remind yourself the belief that you want to ingrain and show yourself solid and reliable evidence, right? Not just regular evidence, right? You gotta show solid and reliable evidence from time to time. When you do that, your brain sees the evidence and your brain connects it with the thought. And once that happens, your brain has no chance but to accept it. It's like, oh, this is the new belief that I have. This is the new code. Let's see if that code actually work. And you see different people actually using the same belief, but actually making progress as well. And then your brain's like, okay, I have this belief, and these people who have the same belief with me are doing good in life. So I will also do good. When you do that, you are going to do the actions that require for you to succeed. You know. But here's the other thing. Though you got to brainwash yourself to remind yourself that you're confident, you're smart, you're intelligent, but you got to know yourself more. There is this Delphic maxim that's pretty much saying know thyself, which pretty much means know where you are at. You can't portray yourself as tall, handsome, jacked while being fat and out of shape with an eating disorder. You can't do that. That is breaking the laws of universe. That's literally breaking your reality. Because when you're fat, when you're out of shape, when you're having eating disorder, there's no way that you think you are tall, handsome, and jacked, right? There's no way. And that is where your logic comes into play, because you got to think and you got to set real expectations on what to brainwash yourself with, right? Instead of let's say you're fat, right? Instead of saying that you're tall, handsome, and jacked, why not adopt an idea that's more healthier to you? Why not adopt the idea that, oh, I'm overweight, but I'm improving myself. I'm overweight, but I'm sticking to the diet. I'm overweight, but I'm disciplined. Adopt these mindsets that are actually healthy. And when you do that, you are going to make more progress faster. I'm not saying that manifesting is bad, in other words, but I'm talking about being overconfident and arrogant. Because I see a lot of these people, I myself is overconfident and arrogant at some times, and I got smack into reality really hard as well. If you can't accept yourself, there is no way. There is no way that you're going to actually make it, right? You have to put a realistic expectation on what you want to believe. We have to have the realistic expectation. The other point is habit. Make it a habit. I'm telling you guys, consistency is key. Quantity over quality. I'm telling you. Though some days you might feel like depressed, you might feel bad about yourself. Just say to yourself one to two times every single day, oh, although I'm depressed, I'm doing good in life, I'm improving myself, I'm doing better. Or let's say in a spiritual context, if you keep sinning, like, okay, I have a sinful tendency, I have temptations, but God is with me, I'll go through this. Right? Constantly reminding yourself is way better than despair. Right? You gotta make it a habit. You gotta practice repetitions. That's why in the gym you do reps, right? You don't just pick up a weight and let it go, right? Unless you're doing powerlifting, but that's another topic. But if you're just like lifting weights for one rep, even one rep, like that's not going to make you the most amount of muscle growth. You gotta do a certain amount of repetition for you to actually see results. So you got to make a habit. You got to make a habit of actually thinking positively. You got to make a habit of surrounding yourself with positive reinforcement in order for you to make progress. Don't slack on it because quantity quantity is more important than quality. The last point of this is to have a confidence of a master and a mindset of a student. That this is one of my favorite things that I heard. I heard from a YouTuber named Hamza. He's really cool, and he has bad advice, but some bad advices, but I still love his content. And one of the things he said is confident of him, have a confidence of a master, but a mindset of a student. What he's saying is that be confident in the skills that you can do, but always be welcome, be humble, and be open to absorb new ideas. Be open and be humble enough to accept that you're not perfect. Because a true intellectual person will always think that they have something to improve on. If you don't think you have something to improve on, there's something wrong with you. But on the other hand, you don't want to fall into the imposter syndrome and thinking that you're a worthless piece of shit, because that's not going to take you anywhere. So you got to have a confidence of the skill of a master, but then you got to be humble like a student, and that, I believe, is the key to your success. So you gotta think positively, man, because a lot of these days we have all of this black pill, all of this stupid stuff floating around on the internet. It's fun for a while, but like, in the end, think good of yourself, bro. Think good of yourself, because I've been talking bad smack about myself for a while, and it never served me well. And I don't want you to go through that. I want you to succeed because of your positive thoughts. And I also want you to be humble enough so that you don't slip and fall and make mistakes. Have a confidence of a master and a mindset of a student. I'll see you guys soon.